Chapter 1. Journey into Spellville. Our story begins on July 14th, a warm, soothing summer day, an extraordinary day in the minds of many. A burning question has sparked the interest of numerous astrologers, astronomers, psychics, and many curious people from around the world. Are we descendants of a race of beings that supposedly visits our world every 4,000 years? According to age-old writings, it is believed that the gods of ancient mythology were visitors from a large comet known as Saur. This enormous celestial body is predicted to cross paths with our Mother Earth tonight. Coming so close, experts refer to it as a powder burn. In the foretelling, these ancient gods were responsible for the development of humankind itself. Soothsayers and prophets say that tonight, around 11 p.m., the mystery of the age-old writings will make known their shrouded secrets to the world in an extraordinary cosmic event. 11 p.m. came, and then passed without the promised visitation of any supreme beings. However, there was a peculiar eclipse of the moon. Some of the modern-day prophets were steadfast in their beliefs. Satellite photos and feeds revealed some interesting things that were accurately reported. There was a very unusual lunar eclipse, but even more unusual was the fact that a film showed what appeared to be two particle beams of intense light that shot down from the heavens. One ray of light hit the Lake Michigan area referred to as the Michigan Triangle, a place compared to, by some believers, as another Devil's Triangle. The other ray of light hit somewhere in the Milwaukee area, with no problems reported at either location. The official rendering of what happened was just simple ice particles being illuminated from atmospheric and environmental factors. The unofficial version, bestowed upon us by Mr. ESP, one of the so-called modern-day prophets, read quite differently. On July 14th, something profound occurred in our world that breached the fabric of our physical world. On this day, two portals leading into the very folds of time, space, and beyond changed our planet, and the grave consequences still to come were at that point unknown to us. The morning of July 15th arrived like any other day. The sun rose in the east, the same as always, and there didn't seem to be any earth-shattering after-effects from the cosmic events of the night before. But this day was a very special day in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the start of the Great Circus Parade. People came to Milwaukee from all over to witness the spectacular event that recreated the turn of the 20th century circus street parades. It had the feel and magic of the legendary Barnum and Bailey circus from days gone by. Circus clowns and the smell of popcorn filled the air and hearts with joy and excitement. Magically recapturing the mood and the child in everyone, this year's giant procession was kicked off by the mayor himself. It included over 60 beautiful historic painted wagons, along with hundreds of horses dressed in their best outfits. There were also elephants and other strange exotic animals lumbering down the streets, dressed in sparkling blankets and colorful headdresses. There were clowns by the hundreds, all marching through the beautiful streets of downtown Milwaukee to the delight of the massive crowd of over 700,000 thrilled spectators. All along the streets, people young and old lined up with wonder and amazement in their eyes. On this special day, a beautiful young 15-year-old girl, Tara, was getting ready to go to the parade. Her ebony hair complemented her sky-blue eyes, and her little turned-up nose, speckled lightly with freckles against her skin, gave her face an angelic look. Tara called out to her brother, Troy, to hurry up, or they'd be late for the parade. Troy, a year older than Tara, stood 6 feet tall and was quite muscular for his age. He had dark hair, emerald green eyes, and a strong jawline. Some said he resembled a movie star. Then there was Jimmy, Troy's friend, buddies since they were 5 years old. He stood a little shorter than Troy and somewhat heavier. Jimmy had sandy-colored hair, deep brown eyes, and a cocky little smile that seemed to light up his face. All three pulled practical jokes regularly on each other. Today was no different. The boys were proud of being on the school's football team, so wearing their jerseys, they followed Tara around, annoying her as much as possible, simply because they had nothing better to do. They also decided to have a little fun with her dog. The boys decided to dye her pet poodle Brandy bright red with some of the non-permanent hair dye left over from Halloween. It didn't matter to Tara. She took Brandy to the parade anyway. While at the parade, Tara tried giving the boys the slip. She knew she had to meet one of her girlfriends, and she didn't want them following her around all day, embarrassing her. She let Brandy off the leash because the dog didn't take to restraining devices very well, and promptly ran off after a squirrel. Tara took off after Brandy, and both boys after her. They followed the dog and squirrel to a tree. As Brandy came closer to the tree, she saw something, squealed, and ran off into some bushes. What Tara then saw was a little lost creature from a different world, trying to get back home. As Tara neared the tree, thinking the little red fluff ball was her dog Brandy, it happened. Whew! She vanished from sight. Tara had passed through a portal to an alien world, located in a strange universe on a different plane of existence. This rare and bizarre incident occurred because of the unusual eclipse of the moon the night before. Not too far behind Tara, the boys were still laughing at her for chasing after that absurd-looking dog. But the last laugh was on them. They no sooner got to the tree, and they too met the same fate as Tara. It was only a matter of time before someone would accidentally pass through that portal to the unknown, and unfortunately for these three kids, it happened to them. The police began their search for the missing kids almost immediately, checking frantically with every possible investigative tool at their disposal, talking to everyone to see if they had seen or heard anything. But after a few weeks, they found no leads, and though it was still unclear just what happened that day, for lack of evidence, the police ruled that there was no foul play and that the kids were just runaways. The search for the missing kids didn't stop there. No one was giving up on the puzzling and mysterious disappearance of these three kids. Our journey really begins now in Spellville, a land just beyond ours. It is a parallel world located on a different plane of existence. Spellville is like our world in many ways, yet different in others. Our world is one born of technology, and Spellville is a world born of magic. At one time, Spellville was a very happy place, filled with laughter and merriment, and life was good. Children played and grown-ups worked, as most folks do, enjoying the peace and serenity of Spellville. Homes were of grand stature, almost mansion-like, with beautiful trees and shrubs that lined every front lawn. The grass was as green as emeralds, the flowers were of the brightest colors, and the skies were heavenly blue. Spellville, however, was more than pretty flowers and bright blue skies. The citizens were all equal, whether they walked upright or on all fours. Every inhabitant could speak, even those who walked on all fours. Nobody was judged by their appearance, only by the content and goodness of their deeds. There were never any major problems or bad things that happened in Spellville. It was the perfect world, a delightful place to live. That was until the great change took place about 70 years earlier, the line being drawn in the sand. Two different regions were born, Sundra and Brogontis. Sundra remained a land of freedom, while Brogontis and its citizens became enslaved by the tyrant who ruled it. Most of those who dwell in Brogontis have lost all of their memories and are now captives of the evil force that rules. Their minds were filled with false memories and the belief that they live in a society free from crime, never suspecting they have become the obedient servants of an evil wizard. People of Brogontis are missing. Far-fetched stories were being told among the people of Sundra. Psychics were warning them of the horror that occurred in Brogontis for many years. There is a gateway to hell, according to folklore, where people fall victim to a hellish fate, taken from the safety of their homes in the dead of night by the Ragerclaw and their minions. The people of Brogontis, and even some of the people of Sundra, have fallen victim to this wickedness, taken through a blue hole, a kind of micro-wormhole that leads to the dark underworld where this race of devils dwell. The Ravenclaw are the flying demons that protect and watch over their master, Alabar, the victims picked by an invisible mark placed on their homes. According to legend, this mark is only visible at night and only to the Ravenclaw. Not everyone believes the demons are loyal to Alabar. Some believe that they are loyal to their real master, the Wickerbar, the Lord of Darkness who dwells deep in the abyss. Recently, a disturbing doctrine hidden under a Moklar painting found its way into the hands of Spellville scholars. Moklar is a well-known artist and perhaps the greatest psychic Spellville has ever known. The archive, written in his own handwriting and authenticated by both friends and experts alike, is now being heard for the first time by the good people of Spellville. It reads as follows: Hell through the blue door. I, Moklar, have seen through the false reality and offer you this vision of truth. For many years now, death has swept through my beloved Spellville, taking with it our people, swiftly and silently snatched from their homes in the middle of the night by the Ravenclaw and their minions, and brought to a place of terrorizing pain and death. Thousands of our people, young and old, now hang from large sharp hooks that pierce through their flesh like slabs of meat, all for the sole purpose of producing their devilish potions. Fear and torment make the blood of the victims a very powerful brew for the basic foundation of the demonic concoctions. Finally, the victims are dismembered alive, every body part used for each distinct spell, fortified and made more potent by the excruciating pain inflicted on the victims. The finished brew gains greater bewitching power. This dark and horrendous secret has been kept until now by wiping out the memories of all who witnessed these evil, depraved deeds. So I write these words hiding in fear, huddled in a prison of my own making, for I too have been marked for death. But fear not my vision, for all is not a prophet of doom. The day is drawing near. Soon these clever demons will meet their fate. Before long, they will come face to face with the Chosen One. He brings with him an inner strength that he derives from a mysterious origin. The vision I see appears in a tongue that baffles even me. Still, I feel certain that someday its shrouded meaning will be heard and taken to heart by all who dwell in Spellville. Moklar remains missing to this day. Many years ago, an evil force set out to take over Spellville. No one knows for sure how it all started, but the certainty is that Spellville is now divided in half and called Brugontis, covered by a dark and frightening black haze. Every day, the evil force is slowly devouring more of Spellville. In Brugontis, the time is different. It almost seems to stand still. It now has ragged fields where it once had an abundance of crops, beautiful homes that now looked like rickety shacks. Front lawns looked like barren deserts. There are no children playing, or grown-ups working, or anyone enjoying a once pleasant life. Everything is different now. It's not known for sure why Alabar became evil, but according to Spellville legend, Alabar had a son called J.R.R. who disappeared in a mysterious accident. One day, J.R.R. and his friends were playing a game similar to hide-and-seek when an accident occurred. J.R.R. accidentally went through a reverse portal, a doorway to the unknown. No one knows exactly how the portals opened up in this world, but this is a land born of magic, and strange things do happen from time to time. Alabar's son was now lost and declared dead, but Alabar did not believe his son was dead. He could never accept that fact and went in search of him, but somehow in his search, something went wrong, and it changed him. According to legend, Alabar went into the same bottomless pit as his son did, determined to find him at any cost. However, what Alabar found was not his son. Instead, he brought back a wicked and evil force so powerful it changed Alabar and all the people, places, and the very spirit of Spellville. On the night of July 15th, 1930, Alabar's 11-year-old son entered our world, lost, frightened, and completely alone, without any memory of where he came from or even his own name. All he had were the clothes he wore. Authorities soon discovered the boy. They placed Czar in Jared's home for boys, where he remained until he turned 18 years old. No one knew his real name or where he came from, so eventually they gave him the name of the boy's home that he resided at, with his consent, of course. He also needed a last name, and after many hours of looking at different names, Jared decided to call himself Starr. When he first appeared in this world, he wore a shirt that had a very peculiar crest sewn to it. The crest consisted of various symbols, the most prominent being a large bright star with a red ruby in the center. Meanwhile, back in Spellville, there were many things to fear, especially in Brogantis. Things like the tell trees. These trees had lovely blue and green leaves, but were misleading in their beauty. These leaves were the ears of Alaba, allowing him to hear all the world's secrets and plans. Then there were the wrong way trees. These trees were a form of transport, but a dangerous means of travel, as the commuter would never know where they would be taken. Now, there is the other half of Spellville, known as Sundra. Sundra is now ruled by Carla, queen to all who live in this beautiful land. Carla was a good friend to all who dwelt there because of her helping nature and great powers that she only used for the good of her people. She also had the ability to locate anyone in Brogantis or Sundra, a feat impossible to do by anyone else. Her beauty was heavenly, with long flowing brown hair, the color of cinnamon. Her eyes were the color of the deepest blue sea, and her skin was as soft as silk. She ruled over many extraordinary and friendly enchanted beings. One such being was a mystic pathfinder called Zoe. This bright, skillful, and friendly being could help guide people through both regions of Spellville. It was like being with a walking dictionary, her wisdom being so great she could spell anything. She also had the ability to change colors, shape, or size at will, giving anybody she traveled with a huge advantage because they traveled entirely safe from detection from Alaba and his elite guard. Another of Zoe's skills was knowing the essential words needed to pass through magic doors and portals. Provided they were spelled correctly, you could enter. As long as you traveled with a mystic pathfinder and stayed within their 8-feet circle of safety, you could travel through Brogantis without detection. But if you left the circle of safety, you had to say a different word and spell it at least once every couple of hours, or you would lose your memory, like the others of Brogantis. Another being from Sundra is a fading. These beings are actually mystic pathfinders. Their powers have faded due to the strain of helping a traveling companion stay hidden while in Brogantis. At the very instant they lose their knowledge, a transformation occurs, leaving them unprotected and dull-looking. They appear to look a little like a vagabond or hobo. Wearing raggedy clothes and a sad expression, they no longer appear bright and colorful. There is, however, one way to reverse this condition, but you need a spell tail to accomplish this. The problem is they hide with a clever shield of invisibility. Only oddballs can see through this barrier, so you must first find an oddball. An oddball is a small resident of Spellville that looks a little like a furball. These little beings resemble a spell tail, except for the spell tail's long, thick tail. The reason a spell tail and the oddball look so much alike is because they are from the same race. They are both pittles. These little oddballs can easily find a spell tail by collapsing their shields of invisibility. Spell tails are the only inhabitants of this magical land that can return a fading back to being a mystic pathfinder. Now you know a little bit about both halves of Spellville, and since Spellville is a land beyond ours, you will need to journey to this enchanted land to uncover the rest of this magical tale for yourself.